You landed on Real Channel, which talk about a real horror stories happen sometimes. Hit subscribe button. Let's start. After I had recently become single, following a 2-year relationship, I found myself back to living alone and swiping away on Tinder and other dating apps. It had been a few months since the breakup, during which I had met some people. One girl I matched with on Tinder was named Tracy. She gave me her Snapchat. However, our interaction quickly dwindled to her just viewing my stories without engaging in conversation. This kind of thing used to happen frequently when I was in college, but now, in my late 20s, using Tinder made the whole online dating experience feel significantly more juvenile. Just to give you some context, I own a corner townhome in a quaint community. As for my profession, I work as an accountant. The pay is good, but the job itself is dreadfully boring. After my ex moved out, I thought I would appreciate the newfound privacy and tranquility, but after the first month, that feeling faded. I pondered whether I was more inclined to be in a relationship or simply required the company of others, as being alone began to weigh heavily on me. This is why I found myself consistently swiping on dating apps, hoping to go on dates to get out of the house. Last December, I posted something holiday-themed on my Snapchat story. And guess who commented? Tracy. It caught me by surprise, since we hadn't communicated in weeks. She initiated a conversation about doing some Christmas-themed activities together, and thus we began chatting for a bit. I threw out some festive ideas, like ice skating or visiting the village to see the holiday decorations, but she suggested decorating my Christmas tree. I actually had a fake tree, but it was stashed up in the attic, so I explained that I hadn't set it up yet since it was a bit of a task to get it down by myself. To my surprise, she offered to come over and help. I thought it would be nice, so I told her to come over around 9 p.m. that evening. It was already dark by that time. Around 7:30, I began to prepare. I rushed to the liquor store to grab a couple of bottles of wine. Once I got back home, I cleaned up by vacuuming and sweeping the floors, a task that had become mine to handle since the breakup. I realized how quickly a place could get dusty and messy. By the time 9 p.m. rolled around, I was nervously perched on the couch, the TV on, trying to act relaxed while waiting for her message or the sound of the doorbell. I sent her a text, asking her to let me know when she was on her way, and as time passed, I started to think she might be flaking on me. But then, at about 9:30, she finally messaged that she was outside. When she entered, I was taken aback to find out she was taller than me. She had to be at least 6 feet tall since I'm 5 feet 10 inches. Right away, I noticed she smelled overwhelmingly of a cheap perfume that was almost suffocating. We moved straight to the couch and sat down, our legs brushing against each other, and I suddenly felt uncertain about my feelings. Tracy appeared a bit older than I expected, perhaps a bit worn out. It's hard to put into words, but beneath that potent scent of perfume, I caught a faint whiff of body odor that completely turned me off. When I asked if she wanted some wine, she said yes, so I poured us each a glass while we talked. Have you ever met someone in person after chatting online for a bit, only to realize they are completely different from what you had envisioned? That was exactly how I felt when I met Tracy. Something about her didn't quite feel right. It was like she was missing some social cues. I handed her a glass of Merlot, and as we toasted, she nearly spilled a considerable amount of wine on my light blue couch. Inside, I wanted to scream, but I calmly reassured her it was okay and dashed to the kitchen to grab a damp paper towel and a sponge. I quickly returned to blot the stain before it set in, and she kept apologizing while I insisted that it was fine. After this little mishap, The atmosphere felt increasingly tense, so in an attempt to ease the mood, I suggested we start getting the tree from the attic. I climbed up into the attic and carefully maneuvered a large box containing all the tree parts. One by one, I handed them down until I reached the largest piece, the part I couldn't handle on my own. To my relief, she took it down easily. Her height had its advantages. With everything handed down, I descended, and we began assembling the tree in the living room while Christmas music played in the background. I poured her more wine and helped myself.